Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder if being threatened with a really harsh punishment could actually make you feel more confident in your chances of winning? Well, this new study explores something similar, but in the courtroom. So imagine you are in a tough spot, accused of something, and the prosecutor is trying to get you to take a plea deal, meaning you plead guilty to avoid a trial. They might threaten you with a super long prison sentence. If you go to trial and lose, this is called overcharging. And the big question is, does this threat of a super harsh punishment backfire and make people actually less likely to accept a plea? Little did the researchers here believe it might be messing with how people think about their case. They wanted to see if threatening a really long potential sentence, if you go to trial, even if you get a good plea offer, could actually make you overestimate your chances of winning at trial. It sounds a bit like when someone tells you something ridiculously high, and it makes you think anything less is a bargain, but maybe it works a bit differently in the legal world. Now, the usual idea is that if the potential sentence after trial is really high and the plea offer is much lower, the deal looks really good to you because you're avoiding that huge risk. But what if the threat itself is so extreme it makes you think differently about your whole case? Scroll the dominant explanatory model. For plea decision-making, the shadow of the trial model posits that risk. Neutral defendants accept plea offers with a sentence lower than the expected value of the trial. Preload, the researchers designed 3 experiments to test this. The first 2 experiments, called 1A and 1B, were about whether just seeing a big number that has nothing to do with your case could influence your decision. They used numbers, like how long it takes a fictional character to graduate veterinary school, and they made. Sure, the participants knew these numbers were totally irrelevant. They found that these irrelevant numbers didn't actually change whether people accepted the plea deal or not. This suggests that just seeing a big random number doesn't automatically trick people into making a different decision, especially when they know it is not related to them. This was important because it showed that people aren't just blindly influenced by any number they see if they're told it is not relevant. Now, for the really interesting part, experiment 2 used a more real-world scenario. They created a felony do-I case where the potential trial sentence was either 4 years or a whopping 18 years, or there was no potential trial sentence mentioned at all. Scroll experiment 2 was designed to elicit high elaboration processing through a more ecologically valid context by operationalizing overcharging as a prosecutor. Threatened PTS 4 vs 18 years vs none. Reload, the idea here was that a more relevant and extreme threat might make people think much harder about their case. This is where the researchers predicted things would get complicated. So what did they find? The results were quite surprising. In experiment 2, when people were threatened with that super harsh 18-year sentence, they actually became more willing to accept longer sentences themselves. This goes against what you might expect if they were just trying to get a good deal. It seems like that really big threat acted like an anchor, pulling their idea of a reasonable sentence up. But here is the twist: at the same time, those same people facing the 18-year threat actually started to feel more optimistic about winning their trial. They thought the evidence against them was weaker and their chances of acquittal were higher. This is the backfire effect they were talking about, instead of making them more likely to take a deal. Because the trial sentence looked so bad, it made them feel more confident that they could win at trial and therefore less likely to accept the plea offer, especially compared to those who faced a less extreme 4-year threat. So the harsh threat made them willing to accept a longer sentence, but also made them think they had a better chance of winning. This creates a confusing situation. It is like the threat is pulling them in 2 opposite directions. The researchers think this might happen because people are processing the information in different ways. The scary high sentence might be processed more superficially, just influencing the number they're willing to accept, but the feeling about their case strength and chances of winning might be processed more deeply. This challenges the traditional idea that people rationally weigh the potential trial sentence against the plea, or the threat itself is doing something to their perception of the case. What does this all mean for us? Well, it suggests that prosecutors using overcharging as a tactic to get plea deals might be making a mistake. By threatening an outrageously high sentence, they might not be making the plea deal look better. They might be making defendants feel more confident about their chances of winning at trial, which could lead more people to refuse deals and go to trial, potentially facing much harsher sentences if they lose. It also highlights how psychological biases can play a huge role in legal decisions. Even when dealing with serious consequences, people aren't always perfectly rational actors. The study also focused on sentence length and didn't explore other types of overcharging, like being accused of more serious crimes than the evidence supports. Future research could explore how things like the perceived fairness of the prosecutor or the defendant's desire to maintain their innocence might interact with these threats, it would also be interesting to see if these effects hold up with actual defendants and lawyers. Overall, this study gives us a fascinating glimpse into the complex psychology of plea bargaining. It shows that sometimes the very tactics used to secure a deal can have unintended consequences, making people feel more hopeful about beating the system. So what are your thoughts on overcharging and its potential to backfire? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more insights into the fascinating world of psychology science. And you